Good afternoon, Melissa. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Welcome.
So, hey, Melissa, how's it going?
Good to be here. Good to be talking about the 103rd running of the Broadmoor Pikes Peak Hill Climb presented by Gran Turismo. I mean, it's it's a joy, to be honest, to be able to work with this race and everybody I get to talk to about it. It's always a lot of fun. So always
Cool.
happy to join this forum.
Cool. Are you in Colorado right now?
I am. Yep, we're based in Colorado Springs. I'm here.
Yeah. Yeah. How's the weather on the peak today? You're not running race cars up there, I'm guessing.
No. In fact, the Broncos won. That's a big point of pride here in Colorado. But they actually they made some analogy against trying to stage and run a race in December at the Pikes Peak Hill Climb, which we kind of love that little shout out. But no, we don't. We wouldn't be doing that. It looks pretty white up there right now.
Yeah, I bet. Hey, so as you mentioned, the race is coming up in June on June 22nd. And I guess the way we'll kick this off is just this race has just such a long legacy, and I feel like in a way it's been getting more popular again. It's kind of in a resurgence, been for the last few years. Let's start with just kind of some basics. What about some people who may have been considering this for a while and they're thinking, hey, June 22nd, 2025 is the year. How do I get involved? What do you tell them?
Well, we've already started, right? It's already coming up really fast. It's truly a year-round process, not just in the planning and production of the race, but really just for all the teams and participants, because
Yeah.
Applications are open for a request for invitation. So it's an invitation only. So it's
Yep.
about close to about 3 months. So that opened up at the beginning of November. So that's already in full swing. We already have a list of applicants for that coveted invitation. And teams and race teams have to work year round on this because the unique builds, the unique challenges, the unique logistics, how does it integrate into their other racing programs? It's quite a feat. And so that's kind of why we start so early ourselves. So we go to selection, we make the announcements early February, then they have plenty of time to get ready to come up here because um, the biggest thing that throws people off is going to be the logistics. And so
Mm.
that's we want to make sure they all have plenty of time to wrap their heads around that and get a unique car ready to go up the side of a mountain.
Yeah, it's a lot of parallels in some ways to the Indianapolis 500, where it's not sure the event, quote unquote, is the one day, but it's kind of a whole month long plus process, even before before you get to Colorado Springs. It's many months in the making. But even once you get there, there are teams and stuff that camp out for a month before the race, just getting prepped, right?
Yeah, they do. We sanction 2 test weekends at the beginning of June, which I highly recommend that if they can to take advantage of that time to test and get used to the altitude. I mean, that's a big reason people come out for that time too, is altitude is real. And the way it affects you, sometimes you just don't know. It's different on different parts of the course.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's definitely a month long. We have events all month long. We have the testing. There'll be some private tests that happen as well, plus just getting everything ready. But yeah, it's a full month of activity, with those 2 weekends at the beginning of June, and then a full, schedule for race week. Yeah, we have people up here all month long and sometimes sooner and even after.
Yeah, yeah. What about for non-participants? How can people who aren't going to be making the sprint up the hill, how can they get involved?
Yeah, well, that's a huge part of what puts on, really any race, but especially here with the once a year event. We really rely on our local community for volunteers and our course officials. We have a really dedicated bunch. People have been doing this for literally for generations.
Hmm.
But we will open up for volunteers beginning of March and course officials beginning of February. And go on the website, and there'll be ways, to volunteer and help, and there'll be sign up forms for that.
Yeah. In terms of, again, this is an event that there are some people who have been participating on this for decades, and they know all 156 corners like the back of their hand, and they know all the tips and tricks about altitude and all of those things that get involved. How do those participants who are coming to it, maybe they've already done a year or two and they're still progressing, but how do people get to that stage where they become the experts? What's the best way to learn? Because it's such a unique circumstance that you can't recreate it at wherever your home base is?
Well, that's fun to answer, because I think you can ask some of our quote unquote experts and our veterans. I don't think they feel like experts, right? I think they have
Right.
really great advice about mindset and the way to approach the mountain. And they're all very sharing and resourceful. We have Jeff Swartz, our driver liaison, for instance. Um, and honestly, it's such a good family and community feeling between up with all the competitors that they're always talking to each other. They know um, they want to make sure everybody makes it up the mountain on race day. They're all there for each other, because there's so many variables with this race that some of that competition that you might find in other paddocks, it doesn't really translate here. It's a little bit different. First it's the mountain, right? And nobody can control that, whether it's the weather or sometimes the course conditions, depending on ice, wet roads, whatever it might be,
Right.
to wildlife,
Yeah.
and things like that. So that's all stuff that's out of your control. There's so many things that are truly out of the competitor's control that they really worry about their own race. And that because of that, there's a lot of tips and tricks. And I think the way they all get better and better over the years is just by talking to each other. There's a wealth of knowledge. We have people, like you said, we've been coming up here for a long time, again, generationally, to race. That But they all share, and they all want to make sure they're all rooting for each other to get to the top and have a good time at the summit at the end of race day.
Yeah, it really is. It's a whole community of people, right? That come together, for that month of June, that are from all disparate walks of life and disparate parts of the country and stuff. But that month, it seems like there's just such an incredible camaraderie amongst all the competitors.
Yeah, there really is. I mean, from, the big, huge factory efforts to our grassroots racers, they're all sharing and caring about each other, and, having a beer at the end of the day, maybe down in the, downtown or something. So, and they like to mix, and I think that's
Yeah.
really important to our race, is that we have that critical mix of, being respectful to how this got started, to the grassroots movement, and making sure that our rule book always is in line with allowing that. Plus like I said, the bigger factory efforts that really pushing the envelope of innovation and their technology and what they want to bring to the street, if you will.
Yeah.
So that's the fun part, I think, of in juggling that, and not having we have a lot of rules, but not as many as most. So, it's really to allow that creativity, innovation, and that allows for the grassroots guys are just as competitive as those factory efforts. You don't see, the numbers that they spend on their programs. I don't think you really see in the results sometimes.
It's an interesting transition, because my next question is about that spirit of innovation, because it is, man, I'm going to kind of go out on a limb and say it's sort of one of the last events where where innovation really is the name of the game, right? You have, even from the top class to even some of the lower classes, are still very specialized in how they're building cars to make the run up the mountain. And so from that point of view, the hill climb has been around for 110 years, right? It's, what is it, the 102nd?
It's the 103rd running. Yeah, the 103rd
Yeah.
running. Yep.
So is innovation something that you guys really feel like is a linchpin to the event, and part of the attraction is coming back again and again, because you do have the latitude as a competitor to sort of build a better mousetrap every time you come back? Is that, how do you guys, as a sanctioning event and an event holder, kind of keep the rules in check, but also allow that spirit of innovation?
No, it absolutely does keep us going. I think we've found that we're a really fun and impressive place to prove your EV technology.
Mm-hmm.
They keep coming back. I think it's really important in that we also have like a list of race records, or we have records for alternative fuels. We're focusing on EV production records,
Mm-hmm.
we're working out our different race record categories that are more in line with where the industry is going and what matters and what are the stories that people want to tell. You know, and hey, we pay pretty close attention to that, you know, whether it's Rivian or Ford or Hyundai with all their electric efforts, their EV efforts and stuff, you know, down to, you know, what are the production SUVs, you know, they're coming up here to do
Mhm.
records as well. So, and that, again, that's all about having a rule book that allows for that. And we have an exhibition division that's right in there. And then also they can declare for different race records. And then outside of the race, we actually do offer course certified course times. So much like Nürburgring might, you know, people are allowed to rent, quote unquote, rent the mountain, and they come out and they can lay down a time, and we have a separate, you know, we keep that record separate, but it's, you know, another place to create those marketing and that messaging to get people excited about the innovation that's being proven on the mountain.
Yeah. Yeah. So you've been now in your role as CEO there for 2 years, a little bit more. Is this going to be your third event next year or your second?
Yeah, yep, yeah. As CEO, yes. I had been a sponsor. I fell in love with it as a sponsor,
Yeah.
you know, years ago. But yeah, this will be my third race.
So what, and I mean, for those that don't know, you've got quite a varied background in motorsports. You've been involved with sports car racing, Baja. It kind of just runs the gamut. What are some of the things in your time here as Pikes Peak and in this role that you have you learned anything that sort of surprised you? Have you know, what's that experience been like for you for the past couple of years?
I think you know, I have been able to bring in you know, new perspective, maybe some best practices, really from everywhere. You know, from things that I've seen, you know, in Baja or at Le Mans or Daytona or in IndyCar, whatever it might have been in my experience. And even as you know, especially as probably a executive producer of the docuseries, you know, following Patrick to Le Mans a few years
Hmm.
ago, all of that comes into play. I get to use all of it here. You
That's
know,
cool.
it's unique. You know, it's a pop-up event, you know, that takes a month, you know, and a half to set up and get ready. Um, that to what, how do we get a live stream up and going on a mountain that has a lot of lightning and doesn't like repeaters and doesn't
Yeah.
like, you know, the
Yeah.
equipment that works, you know, at the
Yeah.
track doesn't work here. It just doesn't. And so those kinds of challenges, you know, which I've seen a lot, like say in Baja or, you know, in other areas, other remote sorts of places, you know, I've been able to bring perspective and ideas or connections. You know, it's not that I have the solutions, but I do have, you know, a great you know, network of people I can reach out to. But then I think one of the things that sort of has surprised me about being in this role is, you know, this is such a gem for the region, and it's been around for over 100 years, but just how many people are still discovering it
Hmm.
is a lot of fun. And you kind of said, you know, hey, we've got a little bit of momentum, and you know, when I came on, we started year-round marketing. That was something that really hadn't been done before. Because it is a year round, it is a relevant story. It's a human story most of the time. It's, you know, man versus the mountain, and there happens to be a machine in between the two, right?
Yeah.
So that's a lot. That goes on forever. It's evergreen in the storytelling here. So I think, you know, been able to do that and just watch people and sponsors, you know, get interested and discover. I guess I'm surprised at just how much potential there still is on the table. You know, we're just getting started, to be honest. After 103 years of doing this, there's still a lot more to be done.
Yeah. Yeah. Storytelling is an interesting thing, and obviously with your background in it, and for those competitors, well, let me take a step back and ask, but at the end of the day, once you've got your selection, about what would be considered a full field?
70 competitors is what we're going for to start on race day.
Okay. So of those 70 competitors, obviously there's a lot of them in kind of, you know, production-based classes or classes that are not going to set, you know, or attempt to get a record time or whatever. But for those guys, there just must be so much fodder for storytelling. And what do you advise those people that say, look, just because you're not maybe going to be, you know, overall fastest time doesn't mean you don't have great stories to tell. What are some of the things that those competitors from a storytelling standpoint should be looking at so that they help get that word out about their participation in the event?
Yeah, I think, the first thing is to consider is, a lot of it's on their bucket list. They're looking for support. How do I get there? These people, a lot of guys have been dreaming about this for a lot of years. And it doesn't matter how big your program is. If you
Yeah.
make it to the summit, you've just done what everybody else has done, that's up there at the summit.
Yeah.
So celebrate that. So it's a celebration of the human spirit,
Yeah.
right? It's like overcoming whatever those challenges were, whether it could be altitude, it could be getting the vehicle there, it could be just making the trek across the country for some
Yeah.
is a big accomplishment. And I think it's important to note that we're trying to help as many people as possible get that word out. We do a great feature called Behind the Wheel each week.
Hmm.
It's brought, but support of the Colorado Springs Airport, all about highlighting different racers' experiences here. And we don't pick the winners always. Yes, they do we write about them, but we look for those unique stories, those unique people, because that is what Pikes Peak is all about. It's about
Yeah.
unique vehicles. It's about unique challenges. So we pay close attention to all those stories, and we actually have an historian here on staff, and we that is a big part of our mission, is to capture and keep this going. All the history and all that storytelling. So we're here to help. We're always pitching ideas to our different sponsors. And they'll pick those David versus Goliath stories all day long, because it can happen here. Some of
Yeah.
our most experienced veterans don't always make it up the hill for one reason or another. And then suddenly a person that thought they were way outside of a podium, they're on the podium. You just don't know until race day.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Talking about next year's event, is there anything that's on the horizon, new other things that we should be looking forward to in terms of what you got planned for next year?
We had a lot of new in this past year. Whether operationally, we launched the GT4 division. Looking forward to keeping that, moving. Really prove that balanced performance can happen on the
Hmm.
mountain between different manufacturers, and it was very close racing, which was fun. I can't say it's a whole lot of new, but I just think it's a lot of getting better.
Okay.
Our live stream keeps pushing it along, and we're getting better distribution. We went to MAV TV this last year with some recap episodes, so that was really exciting to get that out there, and be able to highlight some more of the stories that you don't necessarily get to do, on a live stream. So that was really fun to have that little follow up piece as well. So I think it's just new, better. Um, More better than new,
Yeah.
growing. There's our digital footprint. We're really, been growing and really trying to find new ways, and been really kind of keying into what we can do to keep that moving along too.
Yeah, totally. You mentioned classes. Can you give us just a quick kind of overview of the various classes that can participate in the event?
Sure, I'll do my best. I'm not the technical person here,
Yeah.
but so
Yeah, totally.
exhibition is just like it sounds. It's really reserved for only like 5 or 6 vehicles. They're really to either more of a, they want to compete, don't really fit anywhere else, but it's
Mm.
such a unique build or unique program that we put them. That's where they belong.
Kind of
We've got
akin to
open
Garage
weight.
56 at Le Mans, right? Isn't it a sort of a similar idea behind that?
It can be. We've been kind of retooling. It kind of got little out of hand, but yeah, it's a place to kind of put something new out there.
Hmm.
That's kind of
Okay.
it. Maybe you could run it once, maybe twice, and then
Yep.
find your division.
Yep.
Yeah, we have open wheel. We've always had open wheel, for the whole history of the race. So that's fun that we keep that moving along. The Wolf, IndyCar was up here for a lot of years, or for a few. Got to check my facts on that, but it's always been a strong history of open wheel here, so we
Hmm.
continue to keep that moving. We have unlimited, just like it sounds. Whatever you can build, bring it,
Yep.
race it. We have Pikes Peak Open. Again, that's a little bit less, more production based, but with lots of get lots of modifications there. See where we've got the GT4, which follows with licensed through SRO, so that's following all of their homologation and kind of rules there. What did I forget? I've got open wheel, so there's always something I forget. Oh, time attack. Yeah,
Yep. I
right.
was
So
gonna say
this is
time
a
attack.
great place for time attack. You know, it's kind of the ultimate time attack, of course, too. So, and working with a lot, and we're trying to work with a lot of our different partners in the motorsport industry to help bring some of their top racers here too. So that's something that's kind of new, and we're trying to, you know, progress in how we work with different race series to kind of highlight what they do here on the mountain.
Yeah, yeah. Kind of back to where we started in this conversation about, you know, you've said next year is not necessarily more new, just more better. How do you? But it is at the end of the day, as we said, it sort of started as a grassroots event, and you want to keep that kind of that feeling, that vibe about it, but also, you know, keep it progressing. Obviously, it's important to attract partners, to attract manufacturers, to attract participants and people to kind of keep it moving forward. How are some of the ways and maybe some of the struggles that you have between maintaining that grassroots vibe, you know, that family, we're all sort of here in this together vibe, but growing the event and making sure that to some extent the event doesn't become sort of in a way more glitzy than it's meant to be, right? How do you work on that challenge?
Well, I think that's part of the beauty of being an invitation only event. We get that variety of entries or applications for invitations. And then when we go to committee and go through selection, we pay special mind to those grassroots racers and make sure we find that balance. So it's not just who can pay the fastest and first, you know, to get an entry. That's not how it works. So that kind of eliminates, you know, some of that, you know, disparity. So we have that, and we, like I said, they're here, they want to do it. We've got a lot of local guys that are constantly like, how do we get involved? What can we do? And a lot of them start out as volunteering for teams, for efforts, you know, just being a course official. You know, these guys, you know, they come in, they take it all in, and they figure out how to get their foot in the door and what they're going to build. So it's fun to watch that those dreams come true. But they're all really very locally based. I think this last year we had nearly 30% out of the state of Colorado.
Wow.
So we pay attention to where people are coming from, because this is such a community event. It was created for the community to help grow the Pikes Peak region, for the economic impact, for the sporting of it all. So we pay very close attention, and that's what we get to do when we go to selection.
Yeah. Can you give us a little bit of insight into who's involved, who's a part of the selection committee and how that process works?
You know, it's some people, we have some board members. We don't really reveal names, but industry people, you know, people that are out there and know or familiar with some of those different race series. You know, that's very important to us, you know, that there's some insight. We ask for a lot of information for in the application process. So it's race resumes, we're looking at the safety and the build, you know, is always very most important to us.
Actually, that's a sort of a good point to know, because you do have a really good idea of what's coming before it comes. It's not like people show up to tech and you're like, oh, you brought this, right? Like you guys really have a good handle well before the event in terms of what people are doing and maybe how they're, you know, pushing the envelope of rules as racers are wont to do, you know?
No, absolutely. And we kind of can get an idea from all this industry and car knowledge that we have on our committee as to what's the day going to look like, where are people going to land. Like, so we know who the fastest are, we know the ones that are going to take a little longer. And that's all okay. But we have to find a balance, you know, to get it all done in the day. And so we have you're right, a lot of insight. We have, you know, open door policy. People are calling and talking to our competition directors year round. So we have a lot of insight onto the vehicles before they ever show up for race week.
Yeah, super cool. Well, Melissa, our time is up, I think, but thanks for participating. Happy holidays, and I hope next year's event is another cracker, as it has been for the last 3 years.
We'd love to see you out here. You're all invited.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Melissa. It's always a pleasure to have you on. And again, what an iconic event. I mean, that's you know, I grew up in France watching Vatanen, you know, achieving like this amazing thing. So no, thank you so much. Thank you
Michelle
for being
Mouton,
with us.
got a shout out for the gals.
Yes.
EPARTRADE is a digital platform that we've created basically to make life easier in the business community of auto racing.
EPARTRADE, there is no e-commerce. It's literally a connection just like at a trade show. So now, any time of the year, a buyer could reach out to a supplier.
When you see a product that you're interested in, all you need to do is click on request more information, and then from there it is forwarded directly to the buyer or to the supplier.
EPARTRADE really eliminates having to travel, closing down your shop. Now you have a place to showcase globally your racing product and technology.
Looking for a quick fix of motorsports news? The Speed Sport Daily is what you need. It's a free racing newsletter delivered directly to your email every day. We'll cover the winners and the losers and tell you who's making news off the track. It's NASCAR, NHRA, World of Outlaw, IndyCar, and so much more. Go to speedsport.com today and get signed up for America's free racing newsletter and get your daily motorsports fix. The Speed Sport Daily.
Land speed record holder George Poteet's Speed Demon rocketed 481 miles per hour at the Bonneville Salt Flats. You don't go that fast without ARP fasteners.
There is no way that we could go the speed that we've gone, the number of times we've gone, with a lesser quality bolt than ARP supplies to us. And we absolutely wouldn't be where we were today if it weren't for ARP.
When failure is not an option, it's ARP-bolts.com.
We're Performance Plus Global Logistics. Our team of dedicated performance industry and logistics experts get valuable cars and components to the track on time in top condition. We provide expedited logistics solutions for the performance industry using direct routes instead of deferred options, and communicate all necessary information to the appropriate resources to meet regulations and ensure a smooth transit and secure delivery, both domestically and internationally. And we exceed customer expectations by providing best-in-class service with an efficient and cost-effective system in place. Contact us today to book your next shipment.
Scott Lewis & Associates, the sales, marketing, and branding specialist for the automotive performance industry since 1988. We get our manufacturers on track by opening an extensive distribution network, providing product training to sales staff, creating fully integrated sales and marketing strategies, building successful industry partnerships, attending trade shows, events, and races, offering first-class support to customers. SLAI delivers solutions that win you sales. To get in touch with an SLAI representative, call 516-378-6100. Go to scottlewisinc.com or email info@scottlewisinc.com.
With roots in the Midwest that date back well before the Model T, Fifth Third Bank has a long history of serving the needs of automotive companies. While much has changed over the years, our passion for helping businesses put cars on the road and on the track has not. Today, we are more committed than ever as a member of SEMA, a founding member of PRI, and a sponsor of multiple race teams across several racing series.
For over a decade, Fifth Third Bank has been a staunch supporter of our industry and a great partner for many companies in the motorsports field.
Our business has been growing extremely fast, and really we could not be where we are today without Fifth Third. They provided amazing strategic advice, the capital we need to support our phases of growth.
They are true partners for me now, and what they do with their involvement in motorsports is untouched in this community.
Where can we take your business? Fifth Third Bank.
You work as hard as your truck, and you have no time for downtime. That's why more truck owners trust Blue Def, America's #1 diesel exhaust fluid brand. Each batch is guaranteed pure, so you can avoid costly repairs caused by inferior DEF. Demand America's best for your truck. Blue Def and Blue Def Platinum. Put trust in your truck.
When it comes to pushing the limits of performance, the pros know there's no room for compromise. At Crower Cams, we don't just engineer camshafts and valve train components, we redefine what power means. Since 1955, Crower Cams has been the name trusted by racers, engine builders, and gearheads around the globe. Whether you're building a street machine, a dragster, or a track car, Crower Cams provides the muscle you need to dominate. And with Crower, victory is within your reach.
For over 25 years, Wisconsin-based C-Tech Manufacturing has been engineering and manufacturing the toughest, most accessible aluminum tool drawers, cabinets, carts, and tactical storage solutions for America's hardest working professionals. Whatever you need to store and however you need to store it, put your trust in C-Tech Manufacturing. We build it better. Visit our new website at ctechmanufacturing.com or give us a call at 715-355-8842.
If you're watching this video, you might be wondering, what is WPC? WPC is a surface treatment designed to reduce friction and increase the strength of metal parts. As much as it might seem like a coating, WPC is actually a surface treatment. Think of it like shot painting, but the media is much finer, like talc. So what you're left with is a super hard, smooth surface that actually has some proprietary dry lubricants embedded within it. For more information, visit WPCtreatment.com.